What do you say are the differences in selling to a DACH enterprise compared to other or other regions? What do people need to
Yeah.
know about?
Yeah. Um, it's actually crazy because right now I'm working for Hybob. It's an international company. We have a lot of sites and a lot of countries we serve in. And when I talk to my colleagues in Amsterdam, so the
Mhm.
Nordics, we talk with UK. So I've been 2 times in the UK office. Very great people there. But the differences are so crazy because, for example, in the UK or US, from what I've heard, is that you often have not that much questions about feature things, about data security, about legal, about compliance. So they actually kind of want this look and feel like they need 1 or 2 demos with FAQs, and then they are open to make a decision because they are also much more open to say, hey, well, we're open to switch systems and
Mhm.
spend some K on this new tool or this new system or whatever. And when we compare it to DACH, it's really, of course, it really depends on the seller, right? Is it like a feature and function deal?
Mhm.
Of course, the AE always have some fault in it, right? Because you don't can like really tie the operational problems to strategic and
Mhm.
business relevant problems. But I think in the general, we have a much more complicated process. It can take weeks, months, quarters actually
Mhm.
to get a yes or no.
Mhm.
And like maybe we can say it that the people are way more scared to make a decision in the DACH region
Mhm.
than in UK, US, Nordics, and so on.
Mhm. Mhm.
May have many reasons, but this is what I'm seeing right now. It's kind of funny when you kind of realize it and talk to other ones about it because you can adapt to it, right? But yeah, I think that like this is one of my experiences. What is yours?
I feel like with that, I think it was harder to book in a meeting. So from an SDR perspective, it was harder to book in a
Hmm.
meeting, but when you had the meeting, it was more likely to go to the next stage. And the same with account executives. Once you actually have a case, it's more likely to close it rather than to like be ghosted or something. And I think I spoke to
Yeah.
Vince about this the other day as well in another episode about like discovery. And I think he kind of summarized it quite nicely. You need to have the trust first. Like it's very hard to get the trust of a German speaking or like a DACH prospect. But once you have it, you have their commitment. And the commitment is something that you often
Mm.
don't get in different regions. And I think that is something
Yeah.
that like you cannot underestimate. It is harder to get in. You have to be on point. You have to be relevant. You have to make it about them. But when you do that, and it is more work than just doing the overall approach. But once you're in,
Yeah.
it's easier to stay in. That's what I found as well. And you just need to know the tactics. This is why
Mm.
we're doing the podcast. You just need to understand the tactics on how to get in. And you mentioned one thing is like, oh, there's fear as well, which I agree. I feel like I always joke with my friends. I'm like, so in Germany we'd have an insurance for that. In Germany, no, we'd have an insurance for that. Like there's no insurances anywhere else
Mm.
other than in Germany. And I think there is that risk aversion that we have,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
that we also have in sales that we have to overcome as sellers. So how do you get past that when you reach out to someone the first time?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's a good question. So it's kind of like what you've said in the beginning, like for SDRs reaching out, like what I've seen, like I've doing this stuff for like 2.5, roughly 3 years now. So I kind of jumped into sales with 19 as a working student and right now 22. So kind of 3 years. Um, and it got bit more, so it got, so like kind of missing the word, but it is now a bit harder than three
Uh-huh.
years ago.
Ah.
So you really see that through AI, through ChatGPT, through prospecting tools and so on, just costing $50 per license, it's much more easier for every startup with like 10 clients to actually go out and prospect.
Yeah.
So it's like sending emails is so easy. Like you find so many step-to-step guides on LinkedIn where people say like, hey, buy these 5 tools and your mails will come through the kind of wall, right, from the prospects. And I think this whole technology disruption allows companies to have a way more easier approach to prospect, to get more SDRs and so on. But I think what's changing now is, and you see this also from the job openings for new SDR roles and so on, that people are really trying to ask themselves, will I invest in a new SDR, just cold calling randomly people? And of course, it's a numbers game. We can play it through, right? We can kind of say that you should at least book 8 to 15 qualified meetings per month. I think this is definitely possible. And if they close for X, Y, Z percent in a SaaS business, 20, 22%, we will get X, Y, Z revenue. And I think the question will be, will we just invest in new SDR roles, or will there be other ways to get new customers? And I think to the second part of your question is it's not only about getting trust in the beginning, so really knowing the field you're calling in. For example, what I really loved to do in the SMB was understand the segments I'm calling. So of course you can just blindly call hospital, you can call logistics, you can call retail, I don't know. But once you're like 6 months in, 12 months in, I say to every SDR, try to get like your best your best vehicle, right? So if you are the best people to talk to social hospital stuff and so on, try to make your own campaign, right? So what we've did actually with a colleague of mine, shout out to Moritz, is I was handling a bigger account in the enterprise market. For example, Helios Kliniken maybe as a very big healthcare company. And we talked to the main stakeholders, but due to the business being kind of split up, so you have like 120 Helios clinics all over Germany. This is something like SMB and mid-market again, right? So we can attack from both sides. And this gives you a lot of trust if you can. So really try this out, because we booked, I don't know, 20, 30 meetings per month with a strategy to really say, hey, we are talking right now to your main decision makers in the headquarters, and we're trying to plan a new project, XYZ. Are you open to chat like about the regional, about your location? Because it's often a bit more different, right? When you sell, for example, a regional product in Berlin versus Munich versus, because we sold jobs in these days, right? And you have more demographic and locational differences. And this is how we booked a lot of meetings, and the people have this internal trust, right?
Yeah.
So my step process would be try to get relevant external information, like as a first step. But the best way to get in and to keep this, to make the next steps and so on, is to basically get internal trust from other colleagues you've talked to, and then you call the decision maker. Or, for example, if you go into businesses which are split up and you talk to the headquarter and the locations.
So just that I get that right, what you would do is you would go to a company like Google and say Google has, or Amazon, and Amazon makes the most sense. You go to AWS and say, hey, I'm already talking to the HQ. Why don't we, AWS, speak? Because it's just a part of Amazon, but it's not covered by the stations that are. Okay. And they usually because they're like, okay, you're talking to the big boy, like, or girl, HQ person. So that's why I'm taking our time.
Yeah, this is a game changer. So it's really like part of my hours of the week, we really had internal projects with my boss, with the whole team. We've looked at companies we have in our account management team. For example, we had big names you're naming right now, right?
Yeah.
And like my job was then to use annual reports, statistics, and so organigrams, I think you call it in English, right? To really understand like how is the whole business unit split up.
Yeah.
And then I went to Miro, to the Miro board, draw something and said, hey, okay, we are talking to XYZ in the headquarter, but we have 10 more possible leads. And the possibility that they have their own budget, maybe we also already know it, is so high that like we had 70-80% conversion rate from calling into these structures with the contact from the headquarter.
Don't you want to
It's crazy.
start at our company, Jannis? Like this is a game
It's
changer.
it's really
What?
it's really crazy, and it really works. And it really works with enterprise companies because this is like just a little tip, but you can also look it up online, so it's not something internal. If you look at the retail market, logistic market, for example, Amazon also has different subsidiaries, and we
Yeah.
did the same approach there. Also, Rewe, for example,
Yeah.
like it's a really tiny thing right now, but every Rewe store actually has their own. In Germany, we say Kaufmann, so basically like a
Like a
mini
procurement.
CEO of a
Yeah.
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 And basically you have like, I don't know how many stores, 3,000 in Germany, you have 3,000 leads because they can also spend their own money on advertisement, on job openings,
Yeah.
on, I don't know. And this is when you have time, the money and the people, you can really like map out all the big companies and call like crazy.